Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. We continue today with our book club series of discussions about Jesus in our days. So let me move on to the next slides. And I just wanted to share here the table of contents and take a moment to just talk about this psychological series. It is coined by us because it's not one book, but 16 books, in fact. And this is all written by the spiritual author, Joanna de Angelis. They contain very powerful, very impactful messages. And during the series of discussions that we are doing together, we will focus on insightful messages that are contained in this book right now and subsequent books in the future. I just wanted to share here with you because it's quite I mentioned before, quite small book. The first chapter is two sheets, right? 4 pages in a very small book. So easy to read, not so easy to digest. So my goal here today is to work with you to um, dissect or play with the words to see if we can digest it better together. But I wanted to say that Jesus in Our Day, um, authored, as I said before, by Joanna de Angelis in collaboration with Divaldo Pereira Franco, and poses all those topics that you see there on the screen. And our proposal is to review weekly each topic. And yes, as you can read, they range widely, and they range from, let's say, love to tolerance to courage and security, suffering, so on and so forth. And they bring to us, because of course, as the title says, is Jesus in our day. So they bring to us a different perspective about Jesus. And as we dive into his teachings, we are taken by how these teachings continue to touch us, and they continue to amaze us, and they actually also continue to amaze even the most skeptical scholars. So Joanna de Angelis presents us to the notion of a Jesus that does not have to be the Jesus in the cross. And I'm putting my arms out widespread, right? She calls the uncrucified Jesus, as he's here with us today, addressing various challenging situations. So here is my invitation to you to continue to look for answers in these very therapeutical teachings, and together come to conclusions about how to attain, how to find a state of health, a state of peace, a state of well being, and most importantly, a state of happiness. So, for the next lives that we're together, we will see the chapters that are contained here in the screen. But as we keep moving, I would like to spend the bulk of our time today discussing, as you see the topic here, the process of evolution. And the in small letters you can read, it's a tremendous challenge for the spirit. And that's when we come to terms with the fact that she opens, right, Joanna de Angelis opens the first chapter of Jesus in Our Days with this premise. And the premise is exactly as you say: the process of evolution is a tremendous challenge for the spirit. And as I mentioned before, this is a series of books, but most importantly, This is the first line of the first chapter of the first book of that series. And just from a context perspective, this was written and published more than 30 years ago in 1989. But very, very current to me specifically. And again, this first chapter introduced to us the the tone that will delineate the rest of the book, and it begins with it to unveil our sense of humanity, and it just it's truly unveil, right, layer by layer, from different types of situation, different types of challenges that are addressed one by one. But as we ponder to the message, right? The process of evolution is a tremendous challenge for the spirit. We start to wonder many things. Two of those are: first, why do we need to go through this process? And second, why is it challenging? And I have to say, as a side note, we have to come to terms that we human beings that are immortal souls, right? Meaning that we have life after life after life after life. We're given by our Creator four extraordinary gifts. Number one, life. Yes, the first gift we received was this thing that we call this body, this awareness, this consciousness, this life. And life itself, in my opinion, is the greatest gift of all, because we are the expression of God within ourselves, right? We are unfolding minute by minute, and that is just such a beautiful thing to even think about it. But the second gift of those four extraordinary gifts are the evolution, the process of evolution that we're going to be talking right now. In this process is of evolution. Evolution itself is an unwavering certainty that we will evolve spiritually, and that evolution is one that will uh, let us ascend. And I'm talking ascend with my hands in spiral, because it's the sense of going up, up toward the state of angelitude. That state was promised to us by our Creator. Number three, the gift is free will. And we could unpack forever just those two little words, but the freedom to choose the path by which that very deterministic law of progress, and in it the inherent evolutionary path that we have to go through, we choose not the final destination, but we get to choose how to get there. So I just stopped to say my mind's eye, and I've always thought this way. If we were to, for example, in the globe, right? This is Earth, and if you wanted to go from here to the other side of the globe, right? Oh, I don't know, maybe somewhere in Asia, half around the world. There are two ways of doing. We could go in a direct, straight, maybe with a jet from here to there, and is the fastest, most direct way. Or we can go around and around and around, and we can go up and down. It is our trip. So don't judge it. And I'm just kidding here. But free will is exactly that. We have the freedom to do um, whatever we want while we are evolving. The fourth gift is the gift of a mentor. Oh, what I'm talking about is what many of us call a guardian angel, a benefactor, a spirit of light, whatever you want to call it, but it's a mentor. And as we are with our free will toward our evolutionary path in this and many other lives, fated to try. It's my choice, it's my freedom, and I will try to do things and I will make mistakes. Right? Inherent in the process is the idea that we make mistakes. We're fated to that. We are fated to fall. And as a child, and I would like to use that as my main metaphor, right? That baby, that toddler that just started to move and getting the body, the all the muscles and all of it ready to walk and steps, and it will do the first step and we're still not sure how everything works and we fall until we're ready for the next, so on and so forth. So we, like the baby, we're fated to fall, to make mistakes, and we are also uh, like that child, the baby that has parents or those in charge of the child to help, to protect, to guide toward the safe way to do that. We too are assigned that mentor that will be with us until the end of our days, and this is a such a sense of consolation to have that with us all the time. Um, I want us to pause here because as we understand what we're talking here about challenges, right, and as we are giving this gift of evolution, and we are aware that we must fail. I wanted to give another um, pause for another thought process, which is the idea of sin or failure. And what is that? If we remit ourselves to Greece, the word roughly translates sin as to fail to reach. Yes, to reach the target. And so to sin is, sorry, you tried, Mr. Archer, right? So I'm putting you here for the arch and the arrow. That arrow did not hit its target. And it's okay to sin so long you are training yourselves to do better, right? So the process itself, it's a process of failure, inherently so, but it's a process that once you become aware of what you need to do in the physical sense, of course, with how to get the best arrow. And if it's not the most straight, we compensate, but we have to train our eyes, train our body, train our focus, train everything to no longer make mistakes or sin. And it's the same thing here with this evolutionary process. And as we go through this process, it's the only way to do it, right? You can never be that archer that hits the target all the time if you don't apply yourself. And the process of application of training, if you will, is a process that makes you become and reach all your potentiality, but also deserve it. It's your gain, it's your process of evolution, and nobody can take that away from you. So I love the fact that the sense of freedom, responsibility that comes with choices, but also the merit that comes implicit into it. Every time that I choose, and I achieve what I want to achieve, then I am deserving. I am. It is my merit to get to the accomplishment, to the victory, to that achievement. And from a spiritual sense, that goes from being very young, immature spirit to, of course, a pure, magnanimous spirit of light. And implicit in it is the idea that we will all be there one day. The question is, again, back to the story of going from here to the other side of the world. It's however you want to go, how long it's going to take, and the modes of transportation and your routes that we choose is what will determine the length of time to do it. But back to the title, right? We talk about Jesus. If I go back to the the first page of the first chapter, right? Jesus and challenges. So if you go back to it, I have to think about why is it challenging? Yeah, we talk about we are mature. We talked about that as babies we still have to exercise our muscles and learn, do that cognitive links in our neurons that understand that if I apply this, it becomes that, and all of that magic, if you will, the connections that happen when we're trying. But why is it so challenging? Why could it be just easy? And yeah, I know I'll fall, but why is it so challenging? Well, it's challenging because another image. Sorry, today I'm having too many metaphors in my mind, but in my mind's eye, the image of that caterpillar that then goes to the cocoon and then becomes a butterfly, right? There are experiments that, oh, I'm going to try to uh, diminish the effort of that little being to get out of the cocoon that takes so much time before it becomes a butterfly. I don't know if you heard that, but if you try perhaps to cut the cocoon to make it easier, that butterfly will not fly. So there is an inherent process that requires effort. And in the effort, it allows you to transform from one state to the other. So, in so many words, there are no quantum leaps in our experience. We will become the angel, the pure spirit that we're fated to, but it has to be through a journey that it's step by step in our legs. We go through that. Nobody else can do for us. So back to why it's challenging. It's not because we're lazy. It is really because what we bring with us always is our legacy, our past, our experience, and what we know, right? In terms of our general journey, if you will, our path that we choose toward our own spiritual evolution, we have to think we're very much bound to our materialistic existence, and because that's what we know, we stay there, and it takes some thing, some external force to move us from where we are to the next level, to a more spiritual level, not so material. What does that look like to you? Well, let's think about it. We are very very much accustomed to what I would say are very powerful sensations in our physical senses. And that's all it is. And if you think in terms of the law of inertia, I don't know if you are familiar, but if without friction in a vacuum, if the law of inertia is that you stay in the same course without disruption until something comes in, and then you move out of the course and you start a new law of inertia, right? A new path. And that's all it is. The law of inertia kicks in. We will stay in the same type of experience until something will destabilize it. In our case, right? Humans, not planets per se, but in our own evolutionary path, it usually means that we are met perhaps with a painful situation. And at that point, you get out of our homeostasis, right? Our sense of equilibrium, a sense that everything is cool. I don't have to pay attention. Everything is automatically where it should be, and it's click clack like that clock, the mechanism of a clock. It just keeps going. But in a spiritual path, if everything is okay, it's usually that external force is a painful situation that will destabilize us and will provoke us, will push us to think, right, to reflect upon, to get out of the situation of pain. And when you do this, what's so interesting is that we start to be aware of things outside of what you were. I'm not sure if I'm expressing well, so let me keep on talking. The spirit will start to aspire to a higher level, something, higher emotions, because it's in pain. So I want some sort of solace, some comfort. But as a result, because I try to get away in the path, right, that I was before, in a certain level of equilibrium, because I'm looking outside for comfort, I start to be aware that I need more than what I had before. And when I do this, we automatically start to grow, and automatically we start to achieve. This is a very interesting concept for me. So we can think of many, many different examples in our lives that can represent that. I certainly can remember of many instances where that status quo was just good, boring perhaps, but good, right? Everything is in its own will, and yes, we may have some discomfort here and there, but everything is as it is until something happens and we are confronted with issues we have not paid attention before. And those painful painful experience is what's going to let us go. A good example for that, if I may ask you, is just close your eyes. Just close your eyes and think of the most painful moment in your life. Yeah. Now think about it. What did that painful moment lead you to? And if I think professionally, for me, right, there are two or three moments that are just extremely painful, but because they existed in a professional setting, so nothing in terms of my personal journey of self-awareness, but in those instances, every single time I had to face reality, face my thoughts, face whatever was the source of the little crisis, and I walked out, and it has provided me with extremely more beneficial, better path for me as a person, as a professional. So it's very interesting that we can think of that and start to really um, reclassify those moments of crisis, right? The premise here that is put forth by Joanna de Angelis that we live in constant struggle all the time, every day. And because there's this constant struggle, right? Life gives us not just constraints and limitations, but the struggle is the part of this evolutionary journey, step by step. So when we think in terms of the effort that it takes to go, if you're just doing nothing, sitting down, lying down, or even standing, but there's an effort that it takes from you to just climb one step. And that's as simple an image as that. There's effort required to go from here to here, right? So there's a struggle, there is an effort, and if you do this, and she remotes in the book to a sense of that I think is very pretty, that I would very beautiful, not pretty, very beautiful, that I would like to bring to us here, is the fact that every once in a while, if you go through as this spirit in evolution that are struggling on a day-to-day basis, every once in a while we can rest, right? So another image that comes to my mind is the image of a soldier in a battlefield, right? And I'm thinking, I don't know, World War One, everybody in the trenches, and and you're doing this, and save yourself, save your souls, etc., etc., and boom, something quiets down and you run to go further, right? So, in a way, that's not what Joanna says, but in a way, it represents what she's saying, that our spirit, and again, it's our immortal spirit, begins its journey toward evolution by coexisting primarily with those painful moments, with some interruptions, briefly so, of feelings of wellness. As the spirit matures, it starts to find more and more moments of tranquility that are interrupted by brief moments of pain. This is good news. One day, our spirits will only experience joy, and that will be a joy that is uninterrupted. How about that? And so, like a child again that first starts to learn to walk, we wake up, we fall down, we get up, we fall down, but we are sparked by the law of progress, right? And in the case of the child, but in our case is the law of love. And the ultimate experience of joy uninterrupted is our victory. But we're just going to keep on going for another minute or so. I wanted to say, when we talk about our first challenge, right? It's a beautiful, beautiful image in that I brought forth here. But before I get to it, I want to say that Joanna mentions in the book again that this journey from immature to pure spirit, the journey of falling down and getting up in in one that feels like a almost like a conspiracy, right? What do you mean? This is the path. This is how you design the path, right? And it feels that we have a conspiracy against that idea of getting to the ultimate joy. And what was she talking about? Well, she starts with bringing to us the sense of this is done, this the sense of uh, the constant struggle and a conspiracy on top of it. Is the conspiracy is based on the legacy of our past, of what we were, right? So again, the known, or mentioned before, because the law of inertia, the known. We have a known state, and we try, and this is human behavior, we try to stay true to what we know. We try to retain, and by doing this, we apply restrictive forces to keep us at the same level, right? So if we're thinking of, lower level of spiritual evolution, we're talking of the seemingly terribly wasteful cycle of eating, sleeping, reproducing, right? Eating, sleeping, reproducing. And that cycle that you can think of is the cycle of a animal, right? Of a bee, or of I don't know, of a fish. It's seemingly uh, wasteful in our minds, right, consciousness, because the level of awareness of a young immature soul is one that is pretty much at that time, at that level, very unaware to the emotional aspects of our own spiritual, I call it texture, right? What makes us who we are. In this state, it is as if we're not there anymore, but we were anesthetized by the only looking to fulfill our lower hierarchy of needs, right? The need to survive. And it's almost a vegetative state. We seek pleasure, yes. We seek to be sated, yes. And very much like the newborn, even before trying to do its first steps, it's sleep, eat, cry, sleep, eat, cry, sleep, eat, cry. And at some point, that is not enough, right? It is the most wonderful memory that I carry as a someone who is a mother, to those days that the baby is just beautiful. It's a bundle of joy. It's resting in your arms. But as parents, we don't want and that child to stay in that state. It is it's a cruel, to many of us who have to go through this for different reasons, not to see that child evolve, that child grow, that child learn through falls, right, through mistakes, through upheavals in all their lifetime, but they become independent in a beautiful soul. But like that newborn, slowly, each day, each moment, we are awakened by the need to have a more meaningful reality, and we are actually propelled to abandon what feels like a state of idleness to a march towards something. And just want to say here, and I know I am wrapping up here, but I just wanted to tell you that I watched a show, right? And it's a good example on TV, but five college friends, and they're sitting down, they're eating, and sitting in a, in a chaise and by the bonfire, and they're all talking, relaxed, reminiscing of their days of fun throughout the past 4 years that they were in college together. And one of them is just the most cool of them all. And he comes, and this the preciousness of this scene. He comes to realize that each one of his friends all have moved on. They're days away from graduating, and they're ready to embrace their new lives, no longer as students, but as professionals, and working entry level, I'm sure, but working in their areas of interest that they studied, and they're ready to leap to their new phase. And the shock of that young boy was marvelously captured by the director of this movie, because he's like, what? why did I not pay attention? I no longer have my days of not being so irresponsible, that I have my parents taking care of me, and I have a dorm, and I have friends, etc. So it's very interesting. And back to Joanna, because we're talking about Jesus in our days. Joanna concludes with the notion that this need for being awakened and not to be surprised and shocked like this young man in the movie, pure fiction. It is part of this divine consciousness. And it is divine in nature, but it responds to a higher level of appeal and frees itself from its prison at a cellular level. Each one of our billions of cells are urging to get out of their prior state. So again, the image of that butterfly coming out of the cocoon is a very strong one, and it remotes us to the idea of struggle is real. But I would like to read what we see here in the screen, because it's quite beautiful in its imagery. So Joanna writes down the first challenge, that of experiencing new emotions. Remember, we go from the cycle of eat, sleep, reproduce, right? So the very first challenge is actually being aware of how do you feel, your emotions. So she says, this challenge attracts it, urging it onward to increasingly more complex and audacious endeavors. As it experienced this ethical and aesthetic pleasure, so different from its earlier animality, it becomes accustomed to it and strives for new commitments that henceforth never cease. Since, like an infinite spiral, once the cycle is over, another more attractive and seemingly more easily attainable one opens up. So I just wanted to let you know, and this is as I finish, right? In terms of progress, evolution is unavoidable, but bliss is the ultimate destination. So I part here today with this idea that it is a challenge, but it's a gift. It is a challenge and requires effort, but our ultimate destination is pure joy. It is our bliss. So I invite you to be human with me, to be an immortal spirit in evolution with me, and we'll get there. We'll meet each other when we're right there at our final destination. Thank you so much for allowing me to talk about this chapter of the book, and we'll talk again next week. Thank you so much.